yeah, they're fighting back with silver. Yes, they know the Achilles heel of JP Morgan, of the dollar, right? Why did they have to stop the Hunt brothers in 1980? Why did JP Morgan have to stop silver in 2011, right? Thursday, December 4th, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, we're going to look at silver. There's a battle for physical silver, and it's a huge battle. It's not just for silver itself. It's for the dollar, the fiat dollar. It's for the survival of the bullion banks or the big American banks. They're in trouble. And it might sound a bit exaggerated. You're not hearing this in the mainstream, but there's a lot going on. And what happened overnight, Thursday and Friday on COMEX and CME is highly significant. I've got some more very good information from my source. I can't divulge everything, of course, but I can give you a general idea before we go further into the topic. Just want to say that I did an interview with Eric Young yesterday, and I published it yesterday at 7 p.m. London time. You might want to watch that. We talked about silver. Yes, I think silver right now is leading the way in the precious metals, and it's going to continue to do so. I'm not saying gold isn't going to do well either, but silver is definitely in charge, in my opinion. And we spoke about why silver is the opportunity of a generation, as he agrees with me, and this is what he said actually, Eric Young. He thinks there's a monetary shift as well, and there is a systemic shortage, and that's what we're going to look at today, because many people, of course, denigrate silver and gold for that matter. They say they're barbarous relic. Well, gold is a barbarous relic. It's a pet rock. It's not money. And the same thing goes for silver. It's even worse. Even people who are pro gold and silver, they say, oh, silver will never go back. The gold-silver ratio will never go back to 15-1. And I say, well, it happened before in 1980. It happened in 1980. And if you go back thousands of years, that ratio has been stuck around that level. The Romans had a 12-1. And up until 150 years ago, it was always around 15-1. So I don't see why it shouldn't, especially if this big monetary shift is coming. And I think it is, because what's going on here since Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Day, late Thanksgiving when the COMEX reopened, and today, it's a battle for survival. And some people might say, well, silver is not that important. It's not a currency anymore. Well, why do the biggest banks in the world have bullion departments? I've just pulled up here a list of largest banks, right? The top four, and this is by assets, the top four are Chinese. And then number 5 and 6 are JP Morgan and Bank of America, respectively. 4 trillion in assets, JP Morgan, 3.2 trillion in assets, Bank of America. So why do they have a bullion department? Why do they bother trading with these barbarous relics? Well, because their money, even the word dollar comes from Spanish dollar. That's what the colonies used to use. That's what they used to name their currency, the dollar. It was a way to silver and a way to gold. And the people in charge of the central banks all around the world, especially the BRICS and the Middle East central bankers, they're not stupid. They know that paper is only a promise and that it can be broken very easily. I guess the Russians know they had 300 billion promises that were kind of broken a few years ago. And yes, so what am I hearing then? Well, I'm hearing that back on Friday, or overnight for the U.S., Friday for the rest of the world, like further east, the central banks were added again. And these are Middle Eastern central banks or Gulf cooperation central banks, and they cleaned out J.P. Morgan of 34 million ounces of silver, which is the equivalent of 6,800 lots of silver futures. Yeah, and they wanted delivery. They bought the silver contract and they asked for delivery. This is the reason why they shut the market down. Yeah, I don't have proof. They are telling us it was the cooling system. They're telling us there weren't enough people in the office, but I'm sorry, nowadays people work from home, and even if it's Thanksgiving, there will be people on duty all the time. This is the biggest derivative exchange in the world. So, well, it looks like, in my opinion, and I'm speculating, but you decide. You comment below and say, what do you think? But I think J.P. Morgan pulled the plug. They told CME to pull the plug on the whole exchange to make it look like it was the whole thing. But it was really about silver. And when you look at the chart of silver on that day, it was right around the time that silver was making new all-time highs that all of a sudden the exchange froze. So they basically closed the exchange, and I think it's a big mistake because now the rest of the world, or even the world, even Americans, know that you can't really trust COMEX or the CME when it comes to gold and silver. And yes, I've spoken about this before. Back in the 70s, in particular 1974, when gold was about to become legal again, there was communication between U.S. State Department and Treasury officials with the bullion traders from London about what to do to tamp down demand, to make sure that Americans, when gold became legal again on January 1st, 1975, that Americans wouldn't rush to buy real physical gold. And in this WikiLeaks document that came out, and I'm going to put a link to it below in the description, one of the dealers from London says, yeah, I think it was a very good idea that you're creating a futures contract for gold, because that will make sure the market remains very speculative, and it will be much bigger than the real physical market. And it will discourage Americans from taking delivery, from buying physical, and it will make it seem like it's a speculative market. And that's how they've manipulated it. But now, yes, the average American tried back in 2021 with the silver squeeze to go after the bullion banks, to expose their fractional reserve silver and gold scam. But we were too small, because I tried as well here from the UK, just by buying physical silver. That's all you need to do. But we're small. So they were able to stop us in our tracks, right, at $30. And the regulators, the CFTC, the bullion banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they all ganged up and stopped silver from going higher. At the time, of course, there's not as much, there's very little physical demand from central banks. But now everything's changed. And I think one of the reasons it's changed is the tariff war. And a lot of countries in BRICS are angry about what's going on. And I'm not saying it's Russia and China. You can deduct what country they are. And also the associate BRICS members, they're fighting back with silver. Yes, they know the Achilles heel of JP Morgan, of the dollar, right? Why did they have to stop the Hunt brothers in 1980? Why did JP Morgan have to stop silver in 2011, right? From going much higher than 50? Well, because it's the Achilles heel of the whole banking currency system. You just have to do a regression theory analysis that the Austrians do and realize that the origin of even the fiat dollar is not the fiat dollar. It's a weight of gold and silver, and that's why the biggest banks in the world have bullion departments. Wake up. You're not going to hear this anywhere else, and that's why you need the physical. You can't trust, if you are a very wealthy individual or a family office or hedge fund, you can't trust these banks. You can't keep, they don't have any gold and silver for you. And even if they had, when push comes to shove, it won't be available. So yeah, you need it outside the system. If need be in a private vault, but not with a bank. So everything's changed now, and we've seen news as well, which points to the fact that my source is not making this up, because Macro Liquidity, or Macro by Sunil on X, reported here 19 hours ago, and I'm going to go through this, how JP Morgan has withdrawn 13.4 million ounces from the silver registered list on COMEX to the eligible. And that's a huge thing. And they did that on Friday because they were being cleaned out. And what does that mean? Well, let's see what that means. Macro Liquidity here says, and then the most revealing events, JP Morgan reclassified 13.4 million ounces from registered to eligible. Not withdrawn, not deposited, reclassified. So why does this matter? Well, let's go through it. Registered means that it's immediately deliverable inventory, right? Someone can come in and say, I want 5,000 ounces of silver. That's one contract, one tiny contract. And they'll have to give you the silver, even though we saw during the silver squeeze movement that Rafi Faber and others tried to do that with their broker, take delivery. And they made it so difficult, they didn't do it. But when it's a major central bank, or a central bank for that matter, JP Morgan has to do as it's told. And it did, but then it had the market closed. That's my opinion, of course. You might still believe in the official story, but that's your prerogative. So what's eligible? Well, it means customer-owned storage. So it's owned by customers. So if a central bank comes and tries to get it, they can't, because, it could be me with that silver there in the COMEX eligible vaults. They can't take my silver, or maybe they can one day. Who knows? Even the eligible might not be safe, not available for delivery. So this moved, reduced the pool of metal actually available to settle futures, increase the risk that shorts cannot deliver against contracts, suggests JP Morgan is protecting metal, not offering it. So, silver is such a barbarous relic. It's not important, right? But JP Morgan is protecting it at the expense of ruining its reputation. Not that in my book it has a very good reputation, but for a lot of people, JP Morgan is a venerable white shoe boy bank, right? It's been around. It banks for the U.S. Treasury. It's closely related to the New York Fed, or it probably is the biggest shareholder in the New York Fed. And this is why it's so important. It's a battle against the dollar, the fiat dollar, that is. It's a battle against the policies of the United States, against the rest of the world, and particularly the BRICS countries. And the country that loves silver, I won't say any more. And yeah, so that's what's going on. These are sovereigns. They're not like retail accounts. This is huge. And yesterday, in my interview with Eric, I noted that at 5:30 a.m. London yesterday, someone smacked the price of silver down $1 in about 15 minutes. And you can see here by this 1 minute chart. What's going on here? Well, I think, I can't tell you it's JP Morgan, but the bullion banks who are short and who are scared to death that not just central banks, but big investors as well. We're hearing that Paul Tudor Jones was a big buyer of silver. They're like petrified that they're gonna be asked to deliver, and they don't have the metal. They don't have the metal, and as I said, COMEX is not supposed to be a physical exchange. So yeah, they did that, and silver went right back up later on. They're fighting a losing war. They might win small battles, but eventually silver is going to go to unimaginable levels, in my opinion, at least for the general public, maybe not for you and me. And today, I checked 5:30 London time. They were a bit more discreet. They didn't smack it down in 15 minutes. It took them like an hour to take it down. It's still the same modus operandi, though. As you can see, a very similar price action. And yeah, my source said all this is going to do, and also I have to say, Eric Young said all these slams that the bullion banks are going to orchestrate on silver, all it's going to do is going to get these big physical buyers to come in and buy even more. They're digging their own grave, and it's the battle of the bulge for the bullion banks, and they're on the losing side. They're not on the ally side. They're on the side of that German guy that lost. That's my analogy. So there you go. With that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.